Hey everybody, welcome on into Clay Share Day. I'm Jessica Putnam-Phillips, and this is the continuation of the celebration of Clay Share's 5th birthday. And we have a really great demo lined up with Paula McCoy from Colors for Earth. I recently discovered Paula's Color for Earth underglazes, and I have to tell you, they are a game changer. They have amazing, beautiful color, and they're translucent, which is really lovely if you want to get the watercolor effects, but you also can punch them up and get these really bold, vibrant underglaze colors for surface decoration. So we've done tutorials together. Many of you know we've done our little underglaze test plates. So this is with the Colors for Earth set number 1. So that's the colors I used on this, Fire to Cone 5 with a clear glaze on top. Now, also using Paula's Colors for Earth on this mug, and I lean in and get that glare off there. You might be able to see the subtleties. I really like a watercolored effect. And then I also did them to make this rainbow spiral vase right here, which also has mother of pearl on it. But that's how I use Colors for Earth. But we're going to go to Paula and see how she uses them since they are her products. So hi, Paula. Thanks for joining us today on the Clay Share birthday.
Hi there.
We're thrilled to have you here, and we can't wait to see what you're going to share with us.
Thank you. It's great being here. Thanks for the invite back. So Paula McCoy, Colors for Earth. I bought the company back in 2006, and we also have glass enamels. And then we've got the color concentrates, which are the translucent underglazes. And then we have a product called Color Strokes, which are more opaque underglazes. So I'm decided to kind of switch this up. I'm going to show you the butterfly plate today, but I'm also I've added some flowers to it so that I can show you how those opaque underglazes work also. Okay. So
Fantastic.
I'm going to switch my camera and we will get started. So this is the plate that I posted. This is using all the color concentrates. That's all that's on this particular piece. This was a mess up plate because I was learning how to use the forms, the GR pottery forms, the templates and all that. So I have some boo-boos on it, but I hated to waste it because, the time that's involved in it. So I'm going to show you some stroke work, how to get the spots, how to do some banding. And then, like I said, I'm going to throw in some flowers also. Okay, so I'm going to switch. I did not do another textured plate, but I'm going to just show you that on a separate thing. So what I've done here is you take the patterns that I've given you, and there's like a 3-page handout that has step-by-step photographs, the patterns and everything. Trace onto tissue. This is like sandwich wrap, which I believe you can buy on Amazon. It's just the thinner the tissue paper, the better. Trace your design on, put your design under your pattern, trace it with a pencil, and then lay it onto your surface. I am working on greenware. You could do this on disc if you wanted. The precaution that I say to you is if you're on greenware, you can use the Sharpie Ultra Fine marker to transfer. But if you're on bisque, I would not use that. It does fire away, but it can repel product. So I like to use the Statler Tri-Plus Fine Liner. They're a water-based marker as opposed to the Sharpie that has a little bit of wax in it. They changed the formulas in the Sharpies years and years ago. So probably about 12 years ago. Okay, so I've got my pattern on. I've also added some of the little flowers that I had on another piece that I showed, the little purple sweet pea piece. And I'll show you that in a minute. It's cooling over here behind me with the towel around it because I just pulled it out of the kiln. Nothing like wait until the last minute, right? So, okay. Any questions before I get started, Jess?
No, people say they have a bunch of your products and they can't wait to see what you're going to do, that they love your work and they are excited for this.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to use a 3-round. You can use, some of you bought the 4-round. There's a couple of different sizes. They're on that supply list. So on my blog page, and I don't know if Kevin can put a link to that. It's out on the blog page. It says Clay Share Day, and there's a PDF that you can download with all the step outs and patterns.
We'll get that for everybody. We'll put that link up for everyone.
Okay, great. So what you want to do is we're going to start from the background forward, and we're going to do the strokes on the butterfly, the blue strokes. Okay, this is actually, I'm using Aqua Splash LE003 and CC 152 Deep Cerulean. The LE is still a color concentrate. It was just a limited edition. That's why it has the LE in front of it from many years ago. And we just told people not to put that on production pieces because we might not be able to obtain the products it was made of, but we have had it. So there's no, it's not going away. So you're good. That's the only reason that number is different, because I know that is a question. So depending on if you're going to use the pattern, the size it is, the 4 would probably work best. Always dampen your brush before you start and blot it on a paper towel. Okay. And then I'm going to do what we call fully load and tip into a color. This deep cerulean, the darker the colors and the color concentrates, they tend to be a little bit thicker. So you need to add just like a drop of water when you're putting 2 colors. So I just have water in my little dispenser here, and I'm going to just stir that up. When you're applying 2 colors on your brush at the same time, they need to be the same consistency, or you're not going to get a proper load. Okay, so that's just a little tip. So fully load in that Aqua Splash, tip, and I'm talking tip, just the tip of the brush into the deep cerulean, and we're going to start from the background forward. So I'm going to press down, pull, lift, lift, lift as I come towards the next section. So I'm going to kind of tilt this so that you can see it. I'm going to fully load again. I did not rinse my brush, no reason to do that, and tip. So whatever goes on the brush last comes off first. You're going to lose that color. So press down. The more pressure, the wider the stroke. Pull and lift to a point. And as you're coming off, I'm slightly turning between my thumb and first finger so that it comes to a nice little tail, I call it. Fully load, tip again. So these are translucent underglazes. Okay, if you put multiple coats on, they're going to be solid. You can see here on the rim how you can get a solid, but it's still a translucent solid, if that makes sense. It's still where you can see through it. Okay, and just fully load and tip again. So now we've got these back sections. So press, pull, and lift before you get to that center section. And again, press, pull, and lift. Do I need to come in a little closer, maybe? Let's do a little bit closer so that, okay. Press, pull, and lift. If you feel like you have a little too much on there, you can always take your brush and just brush it out just a little bit. So the more pressure you put down, the wider the stroke is going to be, okay? And it's going to variegate those colors through each other because you've got 2 colors loaded on the brush. Less pressure, smaller stroke. If you feel like you have enough of the aqua in there, you can just re-tip into the deep cerulean. See how easy that is? And you're overlapping those strokes. You're not trying to make them individual, okay? And then we just keep going on down. We're going to do these down here. Press, pull, and lift. Re-tip into the deep cerulean. Press, pull, and lift. So I like to do mostly brushwork, pattern-oriented stuff. You can use them. I'm going to show you the antiquing like we did during ClayShareCon that I did on the edge of my other plates, which is a great way to use the product. Jessica likes to use them for her watercolor. So thin them down. Just, I would recommend, I've been using Jessica's 2167 with most of my pieces lately. In the beginning, I used the Amico HF9. And I just recommend, and I think Jess says the same, whatever clear glaze you're going to use, you need to test, do a test plate so that you have a reference of what's going to happen with those colors. Because sometimes your pinks and purples, if you're too light, they're going to fade out on you. And I think that can happen with any translucent underglaze. Okay, so you can see how all of those just overlap. Pretty simple. Any questions, Jess, before I move on?
Folks are loving it. And
Okay.
someone's asking about your browns. How do your browns stay at cone 5? I've used.
Go ahead.
I'll let you answer it, but yeah, you answer and I'll just say I've used them. They work great, but you go ahead.
Okay, so here's the 80 burnt umber, nutmeg, flesh, 85 is sienna, burnt sienna, and raw sienna. So the left side is unglazed, the right side is glazed with the HF9, and this chart is out there. It's on the ClayShareCon blog page. I will add it to the blog for today. I forgot to do that. So they hold pretty well. I'll show you while that's drying for just a second. I did the little honeybee, and this one is antiqued with a couple of different colors, and it's got one of the browns on there. So it does pretty well. I'm pleased with it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
all browns are thick. You know, they need to be probably thinned down. I think that's just a characteristic of the browns.
Yeah, but the color is good. They're not burning out. They're easy to work with. They're not chalky or anything. They're just really lovely to work with.
Right.
And someone was asking, how are you liking the 2167 over the concentrates, over your concentrates?
I like it. I like it a lot. And I'm doing brush on, even though I'm using your, formula. Here's the
I
lemons.
mix up the dip and then you brush it.
Okay, great. So I am doing it right. I think I'm a little heavy. We talked about that. So I will back off on that because I'm used to the low fire. So these are the lemons, and I'll post pictures of the before firing and after. These turned a little more brown or golden than I liked, but you can see the browns here on the stems, and they're lovely. And this has got the same aqua splash around the edge. Okay.
Yeah, I love your burnt umber. That is just a really great brown.
Awesome. Okay, so then what we do is go to the CC 101 Cobalt Black. Always, the other thing is our colors are in the Boston rounds so that they shake and go up, and as you're shaking them, they can go around in the bottle. They are thixotropic, meaning they are in a gel base, so they tend to congeal and stick to the wall. So you have to shake them, agitate them to get them liquefied, and then add water if you need, but you should be able to use straight from the bottle. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take the smaller round. I'm going to take the number 3 round, the Bavarian round, and I'm going to slightly thin just with a load of water in my brush, and I'm just thinning one corner. You don't need to thin the whole puddle because it's going to evaporate before you use it. So I just went over here to my sponge and wiped off any water that could be on the ferrule because you don't want that dripping down into your piece. So a couple of ways you can do this. I do use, thanks to Jess, I love this, the L3 tool to carve on this. That's why I'm on greenware. And you can avoid your lines, but if you go over them, you can go back and carve them in, okay? So I always start from the outside and just less pressure as you're coming down to fill in that area. We need a little bit more. The greenware is, super porous, so it's like sucking up the color really well. So on this one, when I start out here, a little bit of pressure, and then I can leave a little bit of a gap if it works, but you can always come back. And I'm not worried about up next to the actual butterfly itself. And you're just going to continue, and I'm just kind of pressing that down and pulling it. And I'm reloading every time. And remember, I have it slightly thinned, and the reason to thin it is just so it does absorb. I'm going to grab a little bit more water and thin some more so it goes into the surface. You want it to, and you're going to put 2 coats of this black on. If anybody downloaded the PDF before like 30 minutes ago, you may want to go get the new one because I found an error. I had put 1 coat on the black and it needs to be 2. So anyway, go back and get that new one. Okay, so just press to fan it out, fill that in, and then lift to a point. So press and lift. Oh, did you see that? I forgot. Blue ones. Nobody caught me on that. Shame on me. Okay, so these are translucent or transparent, however you want to refer to it, underglazes. And I have it on just a little turntable. And then I've also got a towel under it because I am on greenware. I personally like to work on greenware. Of course, in the regular ceramics earthenware, it's hard to find greenware anywhere, but it is my favorite because it's not hard on your brushes. First of all, if you're going to spend a lot of money on good brushes to do your brush strokes, the bisque, it's kind of like your hair on your head. If you took this is really funny, but you'll understand. If you took somebody and you put them upside down and drug their hair across the sidewalk, you would get split ends, right? Because it's so rough. So that's kind of what bisque is doing to your brushes. So that's why we go through them quicker. But on the greenware, you don't have that problem. Any questions while I'm filling this in, Jess?
They're just saying that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Love the brushwork demo. We just got kit 2 and 3. She's super excited. So,
Yay.
And then we shared the discount. Paula is doing 10% off everything on her site that's not already on sale with the code ClayShare10. That's through the 23rd. And premium members of ClayShare can save 20% off. And we have a code for premium members to use. So you guys can save extra as a thank you for being part of ClayShare. Woohoo! I mean, everybody saves, but a little extra.
Exactly. We've had quite a few order already, and I can tell you that everything that was ordered before 1 o'clock is already went out today. Yay!
Wow!
Yeah, I'm on it this time, man. I'm trying.
You're ready for
overwhelmed
the deluge.
You overwhelmed me last time, so I tried to be a little more prepared, but yeah, anything before 1:30, it's should be out of the door. All right. Fabulous. So yeah, so it is brushwork. I know a lot of you maybe are not used to doing brushwork, but maybe you wanted to know how to do it. And so hopefully these tutorials, I am going to have some I want to do some Zoom classes. Then I also will have some pre-recorded things, and I will sell the technique packets to the different things also that I come up with. So do we have mostly Cone 5-6 users, or are we getting more earthenware people?
So we have, I would say, more 5-6 users, but there's a lot of earthenware folks that have come into ClayShare, and a lot of earthenware folks have been doing pottery in the last couple of years. Like, people are coming in, and earthenware is really approachable and forgiving, right, and a good material to learn with. So a lot of folks start there and then decide if they're going to move up to stoneware mid-range temperatures. So exactly. I think there's a nice mix. I would say that we're heavier on the 5-6 side, but you know, the great thing about these is the color concentrates can go on either.
Exactly. So when you get to the body, you've got the body part here. So it's just a long comma stroke, and then you've got a little bit of a tail. Then when I do the head, I turn it around and I do what's called a pressure stroke. And I'm pointing the brush down by the body, and I just sit and lift. And you've got kind of like a little teardrop is what it ends up being. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the greenware is really absorbing the color. And so I'm getting a few, what I would call pinholes. So what I'm going to do is just lightly mist the wear, just to add a little bit of moisture. And that also will show you what your colors, you can do that on bisque or greenware, and it's going to show you what your fired color is going to look like, which is kind of a neat little trick. You should be able to do that with any product, and it would give you a better look to it. I learned that way back when I was working for Hobby Colorovia years and years ago. So you're going to just apply 2 coats. This first coat is slower because you're trying to get it exactly into the area. And then the second coat goes much faster, as you can see. Try to do the longest stroke possible. And I forgot a partial stroke here. So I'm going to do that. You could do this with a liner brush if you didn't have a round. This is going to take you longer. It's going to take you more, strokes, so to speak. Are we doing okay on time, Jess? Just so I
Oh,
can.
so good. Yeah, it's only 10 till, so you've got another 25 minutes.
Oh, okay. I don't need to hurry.
You're good. That's why no, don't worry. That's why I gave you a 45-minute slot, because I knew you would have lots to share.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. You try to get it all in, but sometimes it's hard. So you can see that the second coat is going much faster. And you could leave this outer edge jagged if you wanted. But you can also, when I go to the liner brush, you can clean it up. And after you do your strokes, if you're going to say, gosh, I don't know where my lines are, you could reapply your pattern. Just don't gouge it into the wear. Don't press hard when you're doing what I'll show you I'm going to do is just take a pencil, just a regular lead pencil, and just kind of mark it back in there just so that I have a visual. But you're also going to follow your strokes when you outline the blue sections of the wings, because you don't want to necessarily go for the pattern when your strokes could be different depending on how much pressure you applied. Okay. Got a little tiny area right there that didn't want to go in. I'm almost out of black. It goes a long ways. And I think Jess can tell you that I mean, it really, you can get a lot done with it. You don't need a lot of product to do a lot of things. Press and lift. Okay. So then I'm going to take some more black out. I'm going to take my liner brush. But if you're, like I said, if you're unsure, what did I just do with my pencil? You can come back and apply your pattern if you need to. And I've lost my pencil, so I'm going to have to use this one. Okay. Oh, there it is. I don't want to use a really sharp point. So here is the section, and then here's a section. There's one, there's one. You've got this big one in the middle, and then these are all individual strokes. So if you need that, you can do that. Okay, does that make sense? You can actually pencil those lines back in and do it that way. So now what I'm going to do is take my 3600 number 2 liner brush. This is a Kolinsky liner, meaning it is a sable or a natural hair brush. And once again, I'm going to thin that black down, just thin one corner. Make sure you don't have any water on the ferrule. And just kind of, I call it pulling little like trees out, really load that up. But you're shaping the brush so that you have a nice point on it. Okay. So then you're going to come in and you're going to touch up, and you can literally go around that section and shape it. And how, even if you don't like butterflies, just the technique, the application, hopefully that'll help you with some other things. Flowers, you could do flowers the same way. Double load, single. If you want it more solid, apply one coat and then come in and add a second coat.
So for the black, you're going to do 2 coats, but for the blue, you don't do a second coat?
I just did one. Yeah, I wanted that to be solid. I'm only going to do one coat on these detail lines, just because I don't think it, it's so fine. You don't need it, but you can round off those tips if you want that. See how that's just coming in. Remember, the more pressure you put down, the larger the stroke is going to be. So if you want really, really fine, then stay up on your tippy toes. And then you can come out here on your edge and just kind of shape that, or you could leave it the way it is. That just depends on what you like. So I'm just kind of waving it in as I go. I'm trying to wipe off the dust off of my hands also. Okay. And then you can come in and do the lines and stuff. So this one, all I want to do is just kind of add the outline because we need the sections between. You're also going to come in and you're going to pull in your antennae. And remember that pressure stroke we did on the head? You're going to do with the liner, just do a little pressure stroke up there, and you have little tips on the end of that. Okay.
Is there a brush set you would recommend for somebody when they're getting started?
The small Sumi brush I use, I would say probably 85% of my ceramic painting. So that works good. It's not really good for brush strokes because see how limp it is? All the Sumis are very soft. And then, whoops, this round, this is the 2000-4 KB for a Kolinsky blend. It's on that supply list. It's a more inexpensive round and you can do a lot with that. And then this liner, I think if you get those three, and it really depends. I'm going to show you some leaves in a minute, a square shader, but the Sumi brushes are great as far as solid application, even small glazed areas. I use it. It just, you've got to remember that it's a very soft brush. It's not made necessarily for brush strokes. And you're welcome to message me on Facebook or email me if you need help finding anything. Any other questions?
Yeah, so if someone puts a light color over a dark color, is it going to show up?
These are translucent or transparent underglazes, so no, more than likely it will not. You can use our color stroke line. Like if you didn't want, you want to do this on bisque and you couldn't scratch through, like I'm going to show you for the outer dots on the wings, then you could go to our color stroke line, which is in these other bottles, and it's a more opaque underglaze. You could get the white in that. And I didn't have time, Jess, but I'm going to make up a ClayShare kit of those underglazes that I think like the pinks and purples, black, white, and maybe a couple of yellows. So just give me, and your coupons are good. Your code is good through the end of the week. So give me tonight to get that made up. And I think that will allow you to try those and you don't have to, you know, buy. And we have 61 colors in that, where there's 41 colors.
Yeah, the code's good to the 23rd, and that's 10% off with the code ClayShare10 for everybody. Premium members get 20% off, and you have to sign in to the forums to get it. I've shared the link. I'm going to share it again so that you can get it. But we're not actually typing out the code for premium members because then everybody can use it. And that's it's a special gift Paula's giving just to premium members of ClayShare.
Because they really, the last time I was here, I mean, I was inundated. And by the way, I did go to a dedicated server for my website now because of the last time I had to. So it's, hopefully we'll handle the traffic. So your lines, once again, I said you could go back and you can trace that pattern on or not. And you can see the different little spots, okay? So you can, those are just random, okay? So, whoops, get another piece. I'm gonna break something before it's over. I'm using again, the L3 tool and the small end. And what you want to do is just, because you're on greenware, just come in and create that fine line. Just make sure you have a brush that's dry. This is like the large Sumi, which is really great for doing this. And then you can, because I'm really bad about blowing. Of course, I'm here by myself, but if you were in, you really shouldn't do that no matter what. Do as I say, not as I do, right?
Sometimes we forget.
Yeah, well, so see how easy that is just to pull those in. Now I need to go around the edge of some of this other, but I might as well put these in there. And then you're just, let me get the edge on this top one up here. I got ahead of myself. So if you want that filled in, and just put a border on there. And usually with the fine lines, one coat is enough. So I've only been able to test the that Amico HF9 and Jess's clear because of accessibility, you know, trying to get to them. Sometimes there's just not a lot of options out there, you know, because of materials and whatever. I think I did get somebody else's clear in, but I haven't tried it yet. So I will post as I do that. Okay, so all I'm doing is just go in here and just kind of scratch. And you can make some of them a little bit larger, some small, to create your lines. So I think there's a lot of options. Or if you're on bisque and you don't want to try to scratch through, you could take the opaque underglaze and you can come in and just put dots on there using the handle of a brush. You can use the ends. You can use pencil, you know, the lead of a pencil. You can use, you know, depending on the size you want, you just find something, or the dotting tools, the stylus. I mean, there's all different things out there. Any other questions?
Folks were asking for the PDF, and we shared the link for that.
Okay.
You know, make sure everybody has that. And if you're watching on the Clayshare apps, make sure that, or on clayshare.com, make sure you swipe down on the comments or refresh your page to see new comments, because if you don't do that, the new comments won't come up if you're watching there. Folks are saying the butterfly is gorgeous. I agree. I love butterflies. They are my favorite. So you can never put too many butterflies on anything for me.
No,
Yeah.
no. And on the pattern, I gave you, I actually gave you 2 bonus butterflies. Let me show you. I gave you 2 bigger ones sideways. So those are fun. So that's on your, but the PDF has, you know, handout has all these little step out pictures so that you kind of have it there in front of you. And you've always got the video to reference also, the way that Jessica does it, which is awesome. Is it okay for me to post a link in the Clayshare group to the, okay.
Yeah.
Blog? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please post.
Okay, I will.
And absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was allowed, so don't want to get in trouble.
It is. You will not.
Okay, so you can kind of see how that is. All right, so how are we doing? We got how much time left, Jess? Do I need to move on?
You have 12 minutes. So,
okay, so I'm going to do this one and then I'm going to stop. But you get the idea, and I'll show you the finished piece here in 2 seconds. So I'm just kind of wiggling it back and forth. You create whatever shape spots you want. And you can see that some of mine are larger, some are smaller. Okay, now we need to create these lines coming out from the center. So still using your liner brush, make sure you thin that black down. Make sure there's no water. And all you're going to do is pull some fine lines if you want them. You don't have to, coming out from the center. Just multiple fine lines. Okay, and you do that on both sides. You could even scratch in, you know, white highlights if you wanted. You can also do that. I mean, your imagination is your limitation. I've just given you something to start with, and you can run with it from that. And try different color combinations. The yellows are really pretty too. Okay, so I want to go to the flower. What I've done is I found, and let me see if I can unwrap this piece. If I can get to the, all right, so those of you that saw my post, here you go. This is the final purple. Is that awesome?
I love that purple. That's great.
So this is a combination of 3 purples on here. And that's why I want to make that kit for you. This has got 638 Orchid Bloom, and my bottles are really used, so I apologize. And I put 2 coats on that one. I'm going to put 3 coats on this, which I've already done. And just to block it in, well, I put 2 on it, excuse me. But then use your small semi brush, and all you're going to do, let's just do this one over here. It dries really, really fast. Is just base coat it in. When I say block in, that means base coat it in. And you want to follow the shape of whatever you're base coating. You wouldn't want to go crosswise. The shape that it grows from, it's all coming out of that stem, so you need to pull the strokes down into that. Because if any of your strokes show, you want it to look natural. Okay, so you can see how fast that dries. Now, the difference in the color strokes and the concentrates is the color strokes does have a smidge of glaze in it, just a little bit, and a tiny touch of clay to make them more opaque. Okay, that is the difference. Do not put them on the bottom of the piece that's going to touch the shelf, whether you're on earthenware or you're on cone 5, cone 6. You don't want to do that. Okay, so blocked in with 3 coats of that, and I'll have a full tutorial on these little sweet peas that I'm doing. Then this is 637 Bright Violet. Again, always shake your color to liquefy them. Remember, they're thixotropic. And then 636 Violet Blue, which is a darker purple. So when you layer colors, you're going to get stronger values of everything. Okay. And multiple thin coats are always better than one thick heavy coat. That's my rule of thumb. And then I'm going to set this one down here. We're going to do what I call sumi shade. And this particular flower, once again, if you've lost your outline, you can sketch it back in. We're just going to wing it here so that I can show you some shading. So I'm going to water load my brush. I'm going to drag it off camera when I'm doing that to achieve a point. So I'm dragging off a lot of the water. I'm touching into the bright violet first. And I'm going to tuck that color where I want it. I want it to be darker down here at the base. And I'm going to push down and just kind of bring it back onto that petal. I've got enough water on my brush still. This is the small sumi, and I'm going to do another petal. And if it goes underneath a different petal, then you need to make sure you come up. And be generous with this because it's a purple. Okay, that's my rule. That's why I was trying to find a purple that was going to work. Constantly rinse and reload, drag off to a point to get rid of the excess water, tuck that color in, and then kind of walk it back. You can even kind of come down on the lower side of that one. So what I'm doing is achieving, and you can see this looks strong, but it still burns out a little bit. But I'm layering colors. So that had 2 coats of the softer, the Orchid Bloom, and then just 1 coat of each of the shading on there. So I'm going to go heavier on this one, and you can shade twice. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to go ahead to the darker color. So you're just going to repeat with the darker color on top. And I've got a little too much water, so I'm just going to kind of touch to my paper towel to blot that, tuck it in, and then kind of work it back. So I'm not lifting the brush like this off of the piece. I'm bouncing it along so that I get a blend, so that that color goes from the tip of the brush to the water that's in the brush. So it's like floating color. It's just a way to do it with a sumi brush. Okay, so water load, whoops, wrong color. Drag off to a point, tip into the color, tuck it in, sit it down, mush, 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 kind of walk it to the right and walk it to the left. Any questions?
Paula, can you layer color concentrates with the color strokes on top of each other?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. I do that because I'm going to outline with black on this. Yeah. And on
if
the
your
leaves,
colors, yeah, go ahead.
on the leaves, those are color concentrates. That is number 61 and 2. And I'll show a leaf in a second. Go ahead with your question.
And if they dry out, can you just add water to rehydrate them in the palette?
The concentrates, yes. The color strokes, because they have a glaze in them, You can try it, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. I think you'll end up more with kind of a mess. Okay, so on the leaves, so I'm going to let that dry. On the leaves, I'll show you a quick brush stroke for those that want to know how to do that. I've done this on some of my broadcasts also, but we have a lot of new people, so we're going to show it again. All right, so I've got, excuse me, laurel green and leaf green, 161 and 162 color concentrate. And just so if you're new, these are the 1 ounce size bottles. These are the 2 ounce. And then we have pints also. With the color strokes, we have 2 and 8 and pints. So this is a 2 ounce, this is an 8 ounce, and then you have pints. Okay. All right. So then to do the leaves, I'm going to go to a square shader, and I'm using the 5200 number 8. This is a Kolinsky. You can do it with a synthetic or tack-on brush also. You just get better coverage if you're going to use the natural hair brush. So fully load, I think you can see that, with the lighter green, kind of work that in. It'd be like working shampoo into your hair, okay? And then put the writing of the brush towards you and corner load. So I'm talking just little, no more than a third of the brush. And then I'm coming back to my palette and I'm blending. I'm going to flip it over and blend dark next to dark. A lot of times I will do that twice when I first load my brush before I start. So like for these smaller leaves here, we're just going to do what's called a wedge stroke. And before I do that, I'm going to lightly mist this. And I'm going to mist that purple so you can see it too. Okay, so I turn the brush over because I want my dark to the inside because it should be lighter out here, darker as your design gets to the middle. And I'm just going to press, pull, lift, and slide off to a chisel. That's called a wedge stroke. You can do a stroke similar to that with the Sumi if that's all you've got. You just won't get the crisp edges with it. Press, pull, and lift to a point. So that's just a fun little stroke. If you're just learning, it's a good one. You can practice with watercolor paints, just on a practice pad, sketch pad, newsprint paper is really good to use too. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you a big leaf. So I'm going to keep the dark to the center, and it's going to follow what would be my center vein. So watch the brush as it pivots. So the dark is going to stay to the center and my light's going to come around the edge. Okay. So I'm going to press and lift up, press and lift up, press and lift up, press and lift up, press and come out. Then I will turn the piece around, reload, because I want the same color value, blend. And now I'm going to push the brush. So push and lift, and I just flipped my brush over. Did you see that? So this one has the dark to the outside instead of the inside. You can do either way. If you want the dark to the inside like this one, so all the dark is on the inside, your greens are going to brown a little bit when they fire. That's why I can't stress enough testing. Here's your chart. So here's 160 key lime, green leaf, and laurel. So when you put the glaze over them, they do tend to soften and they do brown a little bit. Okay.
We got 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes. Okay. All right.
It went fast, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You should have said something. You're going to just do your detailing on all this with the black, just like you did on the butterfly. So if I were detailing my leaves, I could come in here and use that same liner brush. Okay, and detail. And the only other thing I wanted to show you is the edge of the banding. I just took the big Sumi brush and put it on a banding wheel and applied multiple coats. And then I used a fine liner to do the fine line inside. So this is the Aqua Splash. And then this is the Deep Cerulean. And then I floated the color along the edge. So I had a square shader and I did the darker color up here. This is just antiqued, which I showed the last time, but real quickly, Let me grab my medium Sumi brush. I'm going to grab the aqua. So you just put the color. I would fire the piece after this. Don't do the edge, okay? And then come back. And if you had texture, because I used a butterfly rolling pin, if you had texture, apply your concentrate to that, and then take your damp sponge. I'm in fast mode. And I got black on my sponge, so I've got to rinse it out. Sorry about that. Wipe it back, and then you can antique with it, which I love the effects that you can get with the antiquing. You like that? Good?
Yeah, I love antiquing.
It just
All right.
accents your
Yeah.
wonderful pins, you know?
It does.
All right.
So,
So really, are we done, or are we?
well, you
Here
can,
is
you
that-
can show, we got 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Okay, there's the piece out of
for
the
everyone to
kiln,
see.
this blue one,
Yes.
and I wanted to show you the pinks. So these are color strokes
Those
here,
pinks. Wow. Yeah.
and then some yellows. So I will put a kit together, or somebody can message me if they want exactly what colors before I get that done. Okay.
That's fabulous. Yeah, I'm all in for a kit for clay share folks to make it easier, especially
I
if they're
can do
just
that.
starting out.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
figured. Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
That'll be great. Paula, thank you so much. There's never enough time. We'll have to have
Yeah.
you come back when we got like a full hour
Awesome.
or two. All right.
If you aren't following Paula yet, you should check her out. She's on Facebook, and she also has colorsforearth.com, and she does tutorials usually every week. She has something going on, and if you are joining when she's not having a live one that week, she's got a lot of past ones, so you can go back and watch. And on her website, we do have a link for the PDF, but you can go there as well and see on her blog, actually, where all the information is on the tutorial she did today. I knew I was going to get it out. I knew I could say it all. All right. Well, we are continuing on with the Clay Share birthday. Also want to put it out there that Paula has generously donated 3 of her color concentrate kits as the giveaway tonight. So we'll be giving away 3 of those. And the colors on here are from one of them. So that's the color set number 1. So you get all these if you win that set. And next we have coming up Katie Miller for Amico, and she's going to be doing some underglaze transfers. So come back to us at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. No, 4:30, sorry, 4:30 p.m. Eastern.